Warning, this video contains full spoilers for Knives Out.
Like you also said, and I could have been kinder to Linda and Ransom. Jesus, Ransom. Oh, there's so much of me in that kid. Confident, stupid, I don't know, protected, playing life like a game without consequence. Until you can't tell the difference between a stage prop and a real knife.
What's up? My name is TSC Tom and welcome to One Villainous Scene. In case you don't know, every once in a while the YouTuber NanoVMovies organizes these big, massive video essay events here on YouTube, all centered around one theme. First it was one marvelous scene in honor of Avengers Endgame, then it was one excellent scene in honor of Dark Phoenix, and now it's one villainous scene in honor of the release of The Suicide Squad. And since this is the first one of these events where I was actually actively making videos, I decided to try my hand at it considering that anyone can participate. Though no one seems to have told Filmento that
my fellow film YouTubers had come together to create this awesome joint video project called One Marvelous Scene, which I wasn't cool enough to be invited to.
That's so very, very sad.
Anyways, my entry for One Villainous Scene revolves around, you guessed it, Knives Out. Knives Out has a pretty special place in my heart. Not only is it one of my favorites, if not my favorite movie, but it was also the first movie I ever made a review for this channel, which is spoiler free if you want to check it out, though you may not want to considering it's not very good. It also, in my opinion, has a fantastically villainous scene to dive into. So if a spoiler warning in the beginning didn't deter you, here's your final warning for spoilers, because there's some really great parts in this movie and I really think you should check them out. If you want a review that isn't spoiler free, again, watch my review. Are you ready? Good. This is One Villainous Scene, The Confession. For all of you who haven't seen Knives Out but still decide to stick around for some reason, I'll give you the plot synopsis. Knives Out is an homage to old Agatha Christie-esque whodunit set in the modern-day utopia of 2019 where nothing bad happens and there are definitely no problems whatsoever.
Allow them in and they think they own
They're putting children in cages.
The main mystery revolves around the mysterious murder of Harlan Thrombey, a wealthy mystery writer who seemingly committed suicide on the night of his 85th birthday party. All of the party guests are obviously suspect, and so the first act revolves around the private detective Benoit Blanc interviewing the various family members, and we are greeted with a wide variety of motives, alibis, and very distinct personalities. Another interesting tidbit is that no one knows who hired Benoit Blanc, including the southernly accented detective himself. Everything seems to be following the typical Agatha Christie structure, until the end of the first act, when the movie tells us who done it. In a flashback, we learn that Marta Cabrera, Harlan's nurse, accidentally gave him 100 milligrams of morphine instead of his medicine as he was going to bed. In an attempt to save Marta from being investigated for murder and thus having her mother's undocumented status being brought to light, he gives Marta a meticulous plan to cover her tracks and then slits his own throat. The movie has now shifted with the flip of a coin, and the whodunit has become a crime thriller, where we watch Marta as she tries her best to not get caught. Matters are not helped when it comes to light that Harlan's will excludes his entire family and leaves everything to Marta. Now the family has a motive to pin the crime on her since a legal loophole known as the Slayer Rule indicates that if Marta was found to be guilty of Harlan's murder, the will would be nullified and everyone would get their inheritance. The only exception to this rule seems to be Hugh Ransom Drysdale, or just Ransom for short, Harlan's grandson. He was introduced after the Marta reveal since he missed the funeral while everyone was interviewed. While he's a massive jerk when he's introduced, he does save Marta from the rest of the family after the will is read. Marta tells him her story and he agrees to help her get away with it on the condition that he gets his share of the inheritance, which Marta agrees to. After a long series of events that involve a blackmail note, a car chase,
that was the dumbest car chase of all time,
and a rendezvous with Harlan's housekeeper on the verge of death, Benoit Blanc ends up hearing the truth from Marta. Seemingly, the case is closed and the story is over. But something just isn't quite right. The villainous scene in question begins when Marta is about to confess to the Thrombeys what has happened. In the background, we can see Blanc reading the one surviving copy of Harlan's blood toxicology report. Just before Marta tells the family everything, Blanc interrupts her and tells them off for their selfishness in a very satisfactory speech. I would describe the speech more, but it's really something that has to be seen with the context of how these characters have been behaving the entire movie to really appreciate. Anyways, Blanc brings Marta to the room where he conducted all the interviews earlier. He says over and over that Marta isn't guilty, commenting on how the case is
the hole at the center of this donut. And what you and Harlan did, that fateful night seems, at first glance, to fill that hole perfectly. A donut hole in a donut's hole. But we must look a little closer. And when we do, we see the donut hole has a hole in its center. It is not a donut hole, but a smaller donut with its own hole. And our donut is not a hole at all.
Yeah, like that. He's figured it out. He reveals to Marta, the police officers on the case, and the audience that it was, in fact, Ransom who was responsible for everything. You may be thinking, what? How does that make sense? Marta did it. We saw it. There's no way it could be Ransom. Well, as it turned out, everything was planned out by Ransom. He knew Harlan was planning to give everything to Marta. He switched the vials of Harlan's medicine so that Marta would make a mistake. He knew about the will and the Slayer rule, so he knew that if Marta caused Harlan's death, he would get his share of the inheritance back. He was the one who hired Blanc so that he could uncover the truth. But since Marta unknowingly switched the vials back, Harlan was never poisoned, and so Marta was not guilty of anything. The toxicology report confirmed this. Ransom missed the funeral in order to switch the labels on the vials back to cover his tracks. But Fran, the housekeeper, saw Ransom messing with the vials and knew he was up to no good. She sent him the blackmail note, and he met up with her, overpowered her, and injected her with a lethal dose of morphine. After he found out the truth about what happened from Marta, he knew that Harlan wasn't poisoned, so he needed another crime to pin on her. He sent her to the meeting place, expecting Marta to let Fran die in order to let what she thought was the truth of her guilt die with her. But she didn't. Marta did everything she could to save Fran's life, so now she'll be able to corroborate the story if she survives, which a call Marta received from the hospital seemingly confirms. There are so many other small details that all line up that I can't go through right now, and it really makes me upset that I can't, but it all makes sense. It all perfectly lines up. You watch the movie. Watch the movie. But the important part is that Ransom has now been backed into a corner. Now is when the true villainosity really shines through. Is that a word? Ransom may be going out, but he's going out in a blaze of glory. Before he goes into custody, he has a few things left to say.
I'm gonna say this just to you. No cameras, no courtroom, just you, because you know it's true. We allowed you into our home. We let you watch our granddad. We welcomed you into our family. And now you think you can steal it from us? You think I'm not gonna fight to protect my home? Our birthright? Our ancestral family home?
That is hooey. Harlan, he bought this place in the 80s from a Pakistani real estate billionaire.
Shut up, Blanc. Shut up! Shut up with that Kentucky Fried Foghorn Leghorn drawl. Yeah, I killed Fran, but I guess I didn't. So what do you have on me? Nothing. What, attempted murder? I get arson for the building and a few other charges. With a good lawyer, which I have, I'll be out in no time. And then you'll see just how much hell I can wreak on your life, you vicious little bitch.
There it is. Those short 54 seconds tell you everything. The Thrombies are extremely wealthy, and all because of Harlan, and that wealth has turned them all into monsters, and it's easiest to see with Ransom. Ransom, with all of his confidence, murderous tendencies, and amazing fleece sweaters, is at his core a spoiled, entitled, and privileged child, who lashes out when things don't go his way. He ended up getting his grandfather killed, tried to kill all of his witnesses, and threw an innocent nurse under the bus, all so that he could sit back and watch it spiral downward while he sat on a self-made throne and got everything he ever wanted. And now he's still getting that. He's got a good lawyer, as he said, and the detectives have nothing substantial that will keep him away for any length of time. He still wins. Or does he? To answer that, we have to turn back to Marta. Marta is a shining example of good throughout the entire movie. She's so incredibly morally pure. Oh, never using that phrase again. Oh my god. That she has this physical, regurgitative reaction to not telling the truth. Essentially, she barfs when she lies.
Oh, shit!
Oh, dear girl, I'm sorry. I assumed you were speaking figuratively.
At first, this mostly serves to make her lying her way out of not being arrested harder, but it does come back to play in this scene, as you'll see.
What the shit? That means she's lying!
Yeah, man, we know.
That's right. Fran's dead. And you just confessed to her murder.
The final nail is sealed. Through his own confidence and showmanship in the face of getting out of the corner, he's no longer backed into the corner. He's now in a box of his own creation. There's no getting out now, so he might as well go out swinging.
Well,
in for a penny. Shit.
Oh! And even that blows up in his face. And then, as the movie ends, Ransom is hauled away in cuffs, while Marta stands on the balcony with her newfound riches. There are a lot of villains who have a lot of depth and a lot of intrigue to their motives, not you, and those are usually fantastic. Every once in a while, there's a villain that's well written and interesting, but is still just a jerk. Hugh Ransom Drysdale is one of my most favorite movie villains of all time. He's so well thought out and interesting while still remaining a total piece of scum. The best thing about him, in my opinion, is how the audience's perspective about him shifts throughout the movie. First, he's just an entertainingly awful asshole. Then he's a sympathetic helper to Marta. And then he's a cold-blooded killer. And on your first viewing, that's hopefully not been spoiled by someone on YouTube making a video essay about it, you believe all of those different perspective shifts as they happen, and you believe that that's the real Ransom in the moment. He's a twist villain that still has the exaggerated swagger of a black tea. He's a twist villain, but he still has the charismatic villain quality that many twist villains lack.
That was his take.
He's so much fun to see in action throughout the whole movie. And this less than 2-minute fragment of the entire movie perfectly encapsulates everything I love about him as a character, and why he is reason number 325 that I love Knives Out. I guess you could say this little fragment is certainly one villainous scene. I really hope you enjoyed that video. I've been wanting to do more video essay-esque type videos like this for a long time now, and I thought this whole one villainous scene playlist thing would be a perfect opportunity to do so. If you're watching this from the playlist that NanoV Movies made, feel free to like the video and or subscribe to me if you enjoyed this experience. And if you're not watching from the playlist, still do that, but also check out the other people on the playlist. It'll be linked down in the description below, and there are already some fantastic videos on there as of the time of filming this. And they cover a lot of movies too, so I'm certain you'll find something that you like. Follow my socials and stuff, they're all linked in the description. I actually have a Twitch channel now, twitch.tv/TSDTom. That'll be linked down in the description below, as well as my Discord server, which you can join, and I'll be posting updates about my Twitch on there. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Bye.